for the kitchen common area,
Hmm.
what's the rules around cleaning? Like dish,
So people
no.
are going to have to, and each of the dishes will be different colors for people, cups, all those things that are responsible for their own stuff. When they put stuff in the fridge, they're going to have to label it their own. And this is where the biggest issues always come in. This is where the biggest complaints come in a pad split. And it makes sense, right? Somebody gets some extra Chinese food, they leave it there, and somebody else eats it. That's a problem. That becomes an issue. So that's where there needs to be somebody who's kind of like the head of the household, and you hopefully get an older person there who's the person that's kind of in charge. You just need somebody with a particular type of personality. You know, you're always going to have conflicts.
Yeah.
You're going to have people that are an issue that you're going to end up having to kick out. So that's always going to happen. But that's why I'm not managing these myself. So PadSplit's doing your first layer of management, and then I hired another second company to do the second layer of management there. So PadSplit gets the complaints, they try to resolve it. It also goes directly to my property manager, who will then try to resolve it as well and not involve me. And you do want to set up house rules. So there's one thing I'm going to get a chart made in one of those canvas charts that just hangs up there. Certain rules to follow that PadSplit recommends, and I'm going to be hanging that up just so people do hopefully follow it. You got to let people know in advance, right, what the house
Yeah.
rules are and how to act and behave. Otherwise, it could be a free for all.
Yeah, like no loud noise after X time. That's something like
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Nothing
Now,
that after 9 o'clock.
Paul, now adding the secondary property manager, what kind of does that really eat into your profits there?
Sure it does. Yeah, it's 8% that Pad Split takes, and then an additional 7% for what the other property manager takes. But what used to happen before in the past was Pad Split took 15%, 12 to 15%,
Yeah,
and now they've taken themselves kind of off that and offed it to these other property managers. And one of the ones I hired, there's like three property managers that they highly recommend. So I interviewed them all, and the guy that was the most persistent and good was the one I hired, because that's what I want my property manager to be: consistent, good on me, make sure, follow up, and all that kind of stuff. Because I know he'll do the same thing
yeah,
for the tenants. So I picked him, and ultimately, what
right.
I could do is I could cancel PadSplit, just keep them on as the property manager and still pay that 7%. And then once this thing is managed and it shows that it's a really desirable place to live, then it's going to be easy for him to fill in people. And then I won't need pad split anymore. So then that'll give me an additional 8% back later on. But initially, when using the lender that I used, they needed it to be a pad split lease. And then they would refinance me. Just give you guys an idea, I'm closing on the loan tomorrow. So I did 70%. I could have done up to 75%, but it bumped the rate a little bit. It's only 7.25%. It's pretty good. 30 years fixed, 7.25% rate on this. And my principal interest, taxes, and insurance is going to be $2,400 per month. And what this should bring in, fully rented, it'll bring in around somewhere between 74 and $7,800 per month, depending on what room each room ends up getting rented at. But that's what they preliminary think it'll be. And then you obviously take out that 24, call it 2,500 for simple math. Then you got utilities, water, sewer, trash, internet, which is Wi-Fi, and gas if it has it. This doesn't have gas, but if you have that, figure $500 a month. My lawn service is $120 a month. And those are pretty much my overhead costs. This was in a flood zone. I was able to get it removed from the flood zone. Huge, because it dropped. What was going to be a little over $3,500 a year in flood insurance. Now I don't need any. That was huge. Big value add right there. But homeowners insurance is a little over 3 grand, but still not too bad overall.